Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. Okay, so we are back with Secret Wars 2015. Yes, we are. We are back with the Secret Wars event, and we have Thanos and the Cabal fighting like 30 Thors. And here's the cool thing about this, right? Here's the cool thing about this. Like, as soon as this whole battle goes down, we're kind of given this sort of monologue, right? From Stephen Strange, right? Stephen Strange says, here's something you need to understand about how this world is different from the old one, right? The Earth that was, the universe that was, the multiverse that was, these were all formed by some higher order, some alien, ethereal, other thing that perfectly constructed not just the material nature of everything, but the rules that governed it as well. But this world, this new world, it was formed from the shattered remnants of broken worlds. I know, for I watched Doom will them into singularity. If there's one thing you hear, let it be this. This new world is unnatural, and survival is its first and highest purpose. And that's the reality of this, right? Despite all the glitz and glamour, and despite like all the different kingdoms and how ordered and structured they may be, this battle between all these Thors and Thanos is the very nature of Battle World, right? That it really is just a place of testing. It's a terrible place to live in. Only the strong really survive here. If you're too strong to rule a kingdom, then in turn your rule will be taken over, and you'll be subjugated by whoever takes your place. And if you try to fight against it, you'll be eliminated, right? But it's one of these things where only the weak are the ones who are ruled, and only the strong are the ones who do the ruling. And it's not so clear cut as, you know, strong in terms of physical strength. It's strong in character, strong in gumption. Are you the kind of person that's capable of getting things done? Or are you the kind of person who looks to others to do things for you, right? To fix problems, to solve issues, different things like that. You just kind of stick your head in the sand and hope things just get better, right? That's the nature of what we're talking about here. Now, in terms of physical brute force, all these Thors are wrecked, right? They're totally wrecked by Thanos and the Cabal. Like, they just weren't prepared. That's all it is, right? But when you switch back to Doctor Strange and you pick up with like Spider-Man, with Peter Parker, with Miles Morales, you pick up with Jane Foster Thor, you know, all that kind of stuff, you basically have this kind of explanation that's given, because Reed asks, how did all this happen, right? How did this take place? Like, what led to this? And the explanation given to us by Doctor Strange kind of fills in really a lot of the gaps between what we saw at the end of Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers and the beginning of now, or at least the start of Battle World. And what we're basically told is that in the final moments of that battle, right? In the final moments when Doctor Doom, Molecule Man Owen Reese, and Stephen Strange approached the Beyonders, approached that fissure, and when the Beyonders asked who they were, Doom responded, you know, I am Doom and I'm the person who's going to end your reign. And they basically released all those Molecule Men on the Beyonders and destroyed the Beyonders and wiped out pretty much all the rest of the multiverse in the process. That what this did is it left all this energy for the Beyonders out there, right? It left all the energy of the Beyonders just kind of sitting out there. Now, we don't know exactly what it was that took place there in that moment, but again, that's one of the things that Hickman does. He kind of gives us these small little tidbits here and there, these small little moments over the course of the story. But the response to Stephen Strange is, I looked into what was basically omnipotence, the ability to do anything that I wanted to have so much power that I could alter reality in virtually any way that I wanted to, and I turned away from it, right? I was not ready for that kind of power, but Doom was, and Doom took that power and saved all there was that was left to save. And now Stephen Strange serves him. And that's kind of the crazy thing, is because what you know, when Miles chimes in and says like, so like everything's gone, like all my family, all my friends, everything that I know and love is completely and totally gone. The response of Stephen Strange is not all of it, right? Some version, some small bit of your New York still exists, right? It still remains, as well as some small portion of Wakanda. But keep in mind, they're small little pieces. It's not the world that we knew. And that's what's kind of nuts here. The question that's asked by Cyclops, and this is a really cool question here. The question that's asked by Cyclops is, Stephen Strange, if you had the power, if you had the means to basically be the one who could have played God, and the world that you have is not the world you want, then isn't it your responsibility to burn it down and raise up something better? If the world that you live in is not the world that you want, isn't it your job to fix it? Isn't it your job to basically do that? That's the burden that comes with this kind of power, right? It's the burden that comes with Doom's power. It's the burden that comes with your power. That if you don't like the world that Doom created, then your job is to undo it. Your job job is to challenge Doom, bring an end to his rule, bring him down, and make a better world, right? And this, on the surface, it's easy to kind of look at this as just like a comic book thing, but that's true, even here in the real world, right? If we don't like the world that we live in, if we don't like the environment we live in, whether it's the direction that the country's going in, or the direction that your life is going in, or the house that you're living in, or the relationships, the friendships, all that kind of stuff, then it's your job to fix it, right? It's not your job to wait for someone else to fix it. It's your job to fix it. And it's your job to find a means to fix it with other people if that's what it requires, right? It's not your job to rest on your laurels and just hope that things get better, right? Because doing things changes things. Doing nothing keeps things exactly as they are. And that's the whole point that Cyclops makes here is, with this power that I possess, then I will step up and I will do your job for you, right? Like if you are not willing to challenge Doom and bring an end to his reign, then I will challenge Doom and I will bring an end to his reign, right? So the full power of the Phoenix Force, and that's what's kind of nuts about this, is remember, this is an omniversal source of energy. This is a massive source of power, right? Right on par with the Living Tribunal. And so when that happens, in the midst of all this, you end up having one of these versions of Thor who basically uses his hammer to essentially send an SOS. They call it to prayer, right? To, you know, praying to God, but basically it's a means to communicate with God, to communicate with Doom directly, and to basically tell him everything that's going on, everything that's happening. And it's kind of nuts because what's basically told here is that there's chaos in the kingdom, right? That the Thor Corps has been dispatched and they have called for reinforcements. So hundreds and hundreds of other Thors are going to descend down on here. But with these few Thors that are here, the battle is going poorly. And of course, you end up having, you know, Victor Von Doom, you have Susan Storm and these guys who basically end up going to what's more or less a projector screen and watching all this take place. And Doom initially is kind of dismissive of it, right? It's just kind of like, well, I mean, you know, it's not a great big huge thing. Like the Thor Corps will ultimately prevail. These forces really can't be that strong. But between Valeria and Susan, we're given some pretty significant information here. The first thing Valeria says is there are multiple versions of this Thanos character from across the across the battle world, right? Each different universe, you know, we have some in some universes or some kingdoms. We don't have one in other kingdoms. But despite all the different versions of Thanos that we have out there, this is the most powerful version that I've ever seen. The other part of this is Susan is just like, look, not even my force fields can withstand that many attacks from like a hammer of Thor. So this person must be powerful, right? Like this guy Maximus the Mad, he must just be that powerful. And so that's when it's kind of like, okay, like, you know, Doom almost begins a process of saying, okay, we need to get involved. But then Stephen Strange shows up. And when Stephen Strange arrives, he brings his forces with him. The crazy thing about this is that watching all these different people engage in battle, Valeria's response is, okay, like, yes, it seems more favorable. And yes, it seems like the Thor Corps may have another chance here, or may have a chance of success against these forces, but we don't know the power of these guys. We don't know what level of power they possess. You know, if we sent in like a whole bunch of the Maloids, sure, we could send in 1,000 of them, they would get crushed. Just because you have a higher number does not mean that you have the advantage. It just means you have a higher number, right? All things being equal. And so in turn, while that's going on, Susan like directs, you know, Victor Von Doom to the monitor and says like, that guy there, right? The guy in blue with the beard, like, I don't know what it is about him, but like he feels different. There's something about him, you know, there's something special about this guy. And so in response to that, Doom basically says, okay, now it's time for me to act. Because again, what she's referring to is Reed Richards, right? This is the person that Victor Von Doom has been hunting for ever since he recreated Battleworld. He's been trying to find Reed Richards. And so he basically says, I will return shortly. Doom arrives on the scene. And when he does, everything stops. All fighting stops. And it's not even because he makes them, it's because of his presence, right? The power of Doom. Like he shows up. God has arrived onto the battlefield. And he immediately addresses Reed Richards. And Reed's response is like, this is really somewhat of an amazing thing that you've done here, right? An artificial construct of reality, a world where there should be nothing. Like, look at what you've made. This is an incredible achievement. But the question I have to ask here is, what good have you done here, right? Like, you put yourself on a throne, but like, what good have you done? Like, what have you done to make this world a better place? Have you just arrived here and you've come into power and now you've made things worse? Can you really call yourself any measure of a leader at all if what you've done is made this a crappier place? And the funny thing about this is Doom kind of dances around it and says like, I've always had a throne. I've had a throne for quite some time. It's my birthright. I've placed myself a good bit higher than that. And Thanos chimes in and says, have you? Because if you have, I have my doubts, because you don't refer to yourself as God. And if a person is going to play God, then they shouldn't shy away from it. And the response of Doom is, I am God. And then just unleashes on everybody. And essentially it's like literally just levitates them into the air and says, this is but a small sampling of the power that I possess. I'm not even beginning to consider the possibility of what it means to actually try here, right? Like this is just that small, that infinitesimal amount of the power that I have. So I'm going to give you guys an option. You guys are going to bend your knees, right? You're going to bend your knee to my power. And if you don't recognize me as your God, then I will wipe you out. And so from there, then you have the Phoenix Force who steps in, right? You got Cyclops who steps in and says, I don't need your mercy. I don't need to bend to your knee. I don't need anything of that, right? I'm a reality shaper. I'm the Phoenix Force. I represent the sum total of all life that currently does, has ever, and will ever exist. And in the end, you're just like every other man, right? Playing at something greater than what you are. You are just a guy, right? You're just a guy with an incredible amount of power. I am life incarnate, right? I am what it means to be alive incarnate, the source of life energy itself. And where he goes to melt the helmet of Dr. Doom, then suddenly Cyclops is seized, right? Literally seized by Victor Von Doom. And when he says like where Cyclops is going on this grand speech about the future, like this planet's yours? No, let me help you understand something. Like the future you dream of, boy, that dream is dead. That dream is over. And he snaps the neck of Cyclops, right? Just like the entire Phoenix Force is obliterated, like just destroyed at the hands of Dr. Doom and the power he possesses. While all that's going on, Stephen Strange sees the writing on the wall, and he tells Black Panther, over the years that I've been here on Battleworld, I have seen many things, and I have hidden most all of them. But he says, remember this one thing. Remember what I'm doing here. Remember this sacrifice that I'm making today. And he in turn whisks everybody here, all the name of the Submariner, Thanos, T'Challa, all of them, whisks them all away. And it's only him and Victor Von Doom. And the question that Dr. Doom asks is like, where have you sent them? And the response of Stephen is, I scattered them to the wind. And then when Doom asks, he says, why? Like, why would you do that? And the response of Stephen is, because we both knew what was about to happen, that they would refuse. They would not bend their knee to you. They would not fall under your rule. And with that being the case, you would eliminate them with extreme prejudice, right? You would have killed them. And he tells them, like, I haven't even told Reed Richards about the fact that you have Susan Storm and you have Valeria and you have Franklin, that you have them here, right? I haven't even told him that. I haven't told him any of that stuff. And when the demand of Doom is call them back, the response of Stephen is no. And Doom says, you will not test me, Stephen. And the response of Stephen Strange is, I'm sorry, but I can't, right? Like at the end of the day, you're afraid of him, right? Like you're afraid of Reed Richards. You're like, what do you think he'll do when he found out about the life you stole? What do you think he's going to do? At the moment, he's entertained. At the moment, he's curious about all this, but neither you nor I have really found and really discovered what Reed Richards could do if he put his mind to task on bringing you down. If that was his singular one focus, if that was his one thing, and that's the only thing that he wanted to do, was to bring you down, what would it look like? Imagine how hard and how fast you would fall if that was his one and only goal. And so having said that, Stephen's like, you are afraid of Reed Richards, and if I'm being honest with you, I think you should be. And with that insult, flat, like Stephen Strange annihilated. Stephen Strange is just killed by Victor Von Doom. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, cliffhangers, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.